Have you ever noticed that the more you understand people, the harder it becomes to be around them? There's something almost painful about seeing too much, about feeling too deeply. Sometimes it feels like the more awake you become, the more the world around you falls asleep. And the silence of that is deafening. It's strange. People think that seeing clearly is a gift, a privilege, but no one talks about the price that comes with it. The price of noticing what others ignore, of feeling the truth hidden between the lines, of carrying awareness like an open wound. It all starts subtly. One day, you realize that conversations feel empty, that smiles sound rehearsed, that people talk but rarely say what they really feel. And when you try to go deeper, when you try to break the surface, there's an immediate discomfort, as if you've committed a kind of crime, the crime of seeing what no one wants to look at. Most people live inside comfortable little illusions, social roles, borrowed beliefs, fabricated identities, and everything works fine as long as no one questions it. But when you start to see the cracks in that theater, the game changes. At first you try to keep playing. You laugh at the same jokes, pretend to care about the same conversations, pretend not to notice what's wrong. But inside, something starts to break. It's like every shallow word sounds false, every social moment feels staged, and from that point on, there's no return, because once the curtain falls, you can't pretend the stage is still real. That's when awareness begins to demand its price. It's not a punishment, it's a consequence. You start feeling the weight of what used to be invisible, the sadness behind someone's eyes, the tension hidden in an "I'm fine," the fear buried under laughter. You see everything, and what others call empathy sometimes becomes a quiet burden. But the real danger isn't in seeing too much. It's in believing you must do something about what you see. That's where many lose themselves. You see someone suffering and feel the urge to heal. You notice the lie and feel the need to expose it. You sense chaos and want to bring order. But the more you try to fix the world, the more the world resists. Because no one wants to be awakened by force. The truth is, most people don't seek clarity, they seek comfort. And clarity, my friend, is anything but comfortable. You start realizing your presence disturbs others, not because you do anything wrong, but because your lucidity reflects what people try to hide. They feel naked in front of someone who sees beyond masks, so instinctively they pull away. They say you're too intense, too sensitive, too deep. And as you try to understand, you start believing something's wrong with you for seeing so much, that maybe you should be lighter, more distracted, more normal. But you can't, because seeing isn't a choice, it's a state. Once you wake up, you can't close your eyes again, so you withdraw. You observe more, speak less, you learn the power of silence. And then you notice something curious. Silence reveals even more than words. You start to see the patterns behind gestures, the repetitions behind stories, the fear hidden even in acts of courage. Everything makes sense, and at the same time, nothing does. There comes a moment when awareness becomes a mirror. Everything you see outside starts reflecting what's within. The pain of others touches your own wounds. The lies of others echo your old illusions. It's a cycle of endless mirrors, and sometimes it feels impossible to find the line between what's yours and what's the world's. You feel too much, absorb too much, understand too much, until you begin to lose yourself in all of it. That's when many give up. They close off, build walls, pretend they don't see, don't feel, don't know. It's an attempt to fall back asleep, to escape the exhaustion of being awake in a world that prefers to dream. But the truth is, you can't unsee. You can only learn to see without destroying yourself. And that's the real lesson. Awareness isn't meant to change the world. It's meant to help you live within it without losing yourself. What no one tells you is that there's a gentler way to carry lucidity. It's not by erasing what you see, but by changing how you deal with it. Instead of trying to fix everything, you begin to witness. Instead of trying to heal everyone, you begin to understand. And little by little, you discover that you don't need to interfere to make a difference. Sometimes, simply being present with clarity changes everything. Because there's a kind of presence that heals without saying a word, a kind of gaze that comforts without needing explanation, a kind of awareness that doesn't judge, doesn't try to control, it simply illuminates. And people feel it. Even if they don't understand why, they feel calmer around you, more real, more free. That's the point where lucidity stops being a burden and becomes a strength. You stop fighting the world and start dancing with it. You understand that everyone is on their own path, in their own timing. And waking up before others doesn't make you superior. It only makes you responsible for staying awake without losing your peace. But until you reach that point, the path is lonely. Because awakening is above all a process of detachment. You'll lose people, roles, certainties. You'll realize that much of what defined you was just a reflection of an unconscious world. And when that falls away, what remains is emptiness, silence, the strange feeling of not belonging anywhere. But it's in that emptiness that something new is born, a lighter, more compassionate clarity. You realize that seeing too much isn't a curse. It's an invitation to love without demanding change, to understand without needing to fix, to be without needing to control. Seeing too much is the universe showing you the backstage of existence, and it's up to you to decide whether you'll use that to torture yourself or to free yourself. There's a difference between carrying light and being consumed by it. Those who try to enlighten everyone by force end up burning themselves. Those who learn to shine quietly, they transform everything around them without saying a word. And maybe that's what the world needs most. Not saviors, but conscious beings who know how to be present without imposing their vision. True awakening isn't about changing the world, it's about changing your relationship with it. It's about seeing chaos and still choosing peace, seeing lies and still choosing compassion, seeing pain and still choosing love. Because seeing too much shows you everything that's false, but it also shows you everything that's true. The beauty hidden behind pain, the wisdom hidden behind mistakes, the light hidden even in the shadows. And then one day you realize the weight you carried didn't come from awareness, but from resistance, from wishing the world were different, from wanting people to understand, from needing things to change. When you let that go, lucidity becomes light. It stops being a burden and becomes a freedom. You begin to walk calmly. You observe, you understand, but you don't absorb everything. You learn to create invisible boundaries that protect your center. And the more you care for your own energy, the more you realize you can see clearly without losing yourself. Clarity isn't about suffering for what you see, it's about deeply understanding without it destroying you. At that point, awareness becomes wisdom, because wisdom isn't just seeing, it's knowing what to do or what not to do with what you see. It's the balance between perception and serenity, between depth and lightness, between empathy and boundaries. You then understand that the true gift isn't seeing what others don't, but staying whole despite what you see. That's the challenge and the beauty, because when you can live awake without losing yourself, you become a transforming presence. People can't explain it, but they feel it. They feel there's something different about you, a calm that doesn't depend on circumstances, a clarity that doesn't judge, but embraces. And slowly, that energy awakens those who are ready, not because you said something, but because you became something. You become living proof that it's possible to see the entire world, its illusions, its pain, its contradictions, and still choose love. And that's rare. That's powerful. That's the true miracle of awareness. So if today you feel like you see too much, feel too much, understand too much, and it hurts, know that you're not broken. You're just awake. And yes, awakening hurts at first, but in time, that pain turns into strength. The price of seeing too much is high, but the value of what you gain is immeasurable. Because seeing the truth, even when it hurts, is the first step towards truly living. And to live truly is the greatest privilege there is. And now I ask you, do you really want to keep seeing, even if it costs you the comfort of illusion? Because this is the point of no return, the point where lucidity becomes your path. If your answer is yes, then keep going. Walk with lightness, with compassion, but don't fall back asleep. The world needs open eyes, even if it's not yet ready for the light. If this video spoke to you, if at any moment you saw yourself here, leave a comment saying, "I see," because sometimes all we need to remember, we're not seeing alone. And if you want to keep exploring these reflections, subscribe, like, and share, because every time a new consciousness awakens, the whole world moves a little